A woman disappears, only to be found alive weeks later with a story so bizarre it leaves everyone confused. In another case, a respected doctor uses his medical skills in the most horrifying way possible. From shocking courtroom confessions to murders solved decades later, these stories are full of unexpected turns. These are cases with the most insane twists you've ever heard. But before we dive in, some of the details in these stories are extremely graphic and may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. As always, remember to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with our uploads. Alright, let's dive into the video. First up, we have the case of Lisa Theris, a 25-year-old radiology student from Louisville, Alabama, who vanished in July 2017. Her disappearance was strange, but the truth behind it is even stranger. On July 23, 2017, Lisa's father reported her missing after not hearing from her since the 18th. Lisa had last mentioned being in Troy, Alabama, about 40 minutes from her home. She was living with her parents after a rough breakup and was struggling with her mental health. On June 8th, she was arrested for disorderly conduct, which only added to her family's worry when she went missing. Lisa had been with two men, Manly Davis and Randall Oswald, who were planning to rob a hunting lodge. Unaware of their plans, Lisa fled into the dense woods of Bullock County when she realized what they were up to. She was not familiar with the area, and without any means of communication, she got lost.
The only thing that kept me going was my family. I just kept thinking about I have to see my family again.
For nearly a month, Lisa survived on berries, mushrooms, and creek water. She had no shoes, phone, or shelter and was legally blind without her glasses. Her ordeal ended when a motorist, Judy Garner, spotted her on August 12, 2017, on the side of Highway 82, some 35 miles from where she was last seen. Lisa was sunburned, covered in insect bites, and severely dehydrated. Authorities were amazed by her survival. Lisa's physical condition was dire. She lost 50 pounds and was covered in insect bites and scratches. She reported drinking water from a brook and eating whatever she could find. Despite her ordeal, she managed to stay alive through sheer willpower and determination. The case took a twist when it was revealed that Lisa had been using methamphetamine before her disappearance, which might have contributed to her disorientation and decision to flee into the woods. Davis and Oswald were later arrested for the burglary, but many questions remained about Lisa's time in the woods and how she managed to survive such a harrowing experience. Lisa's story is a remarkable tale of survival against all odds, showing both her resilience and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her disappearance. Next, we have the tragic story of Nona Dirksmeyer, a beauty queen from Russellville, Arkansas, whose life was cut short in 2005 under mysterious circumstances. Nona was a sweet and shy girl, known for her kindness and dedication to helping others. She was dating Kevin Jones, her childhood sweetheart, and was studying music at Arkansas Tech University. On December 14, 2005, Kevin found Nona brutally murdered in her apartment. She had been beaten with a lamp and stabbed multiple times. There was no sign of forced entry, but an open condom wrapper was found nearby, adding to the mystery. Kevin, who discovered the body, became the prime suspect. He was covered in Nona's blood, which he claimed was from trying to revive her. Despite his alibi and lack of defensive wounds, Kevin was subjected to intense police scrutiny. His polygraph results were inconclusive, but the police remained convinced of his guilt. Kevin was eventually arrested and charged with Nona's murder. The trial was a media sensation. The prosecution argued that Kevin killed Nona in a fit of rage after discovering her infidelity. But the defense pointed to a partial DNA profile from the condom wrapper that didn't match Kevin. This evidence, combined with the lack of a clear motive and Kevin's cooperative behavior, led to his acquittal in 2007. But the story doesn't end there. In 2010, Gary Dunn, a local man who lived in the same apartment complex, was arrested for an unrelated burglary. Investigators revisited Nona's case and discovered that Dunn had a history of violence and a shaky alibi for the night of Nona's murder.
A trial is set to begin for a man accused of the 2005 death of an Arkansas beauty queen, Nona Dirksmeyer. 30-year-old Gary Dunn is accused of the crime. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty.
Dunn was tried twice for Nona's murder, but both trials ended in hung juries. He remains a suspect, but Nona's case is still officially unsolved. Our third case is one of the most heartbreaking stories you'll probably ever hear. The home invasion and murder of the Petit family in Cheshire, Connecticut in 2007. On July 22, 2007, the Petit family, Dr. William Petit, his wife Jennifer, and their two daughters, Haley and Michaela, were attacked in their home by two intruders, Joshua Komisarjevsky and Stephen Hayes. The men broke in during the early morning hours, brutally beating William and tying him up in the basement. They then forced Jennifer to withdraw money from the bank while keeping the girls hostage at home. Despite Jennifer's attempt to alert the bank teller, the police arrived too late. The intruders had assaulted Jennifer and Michaela before setting the house on fire. William miraculously escaped, but his wife and daughters perished in the blaze. Joshua and Stephen were quickly apprehended and later sentenced to death, although their sentences were commuted to life without parole when Connecticut abolished the death penalty. The Petit family's story had a profound impact on the community and led to significant changes in state law regarding home invasion and parole. Dr. William Petit, the sole survivor, has since remarried and serves in the Connecticut House of Representatives, continuing to honor the memory of his family through advocacy and public service. Next is the case of Angela Samota. Angela Samota was a vibrant college student at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, whose life was tragically cut short in 1984. Her murder remained unsolved for over 2 decades until a determined friend and modern DNA testing brought her killer to justice. On October 12, 1984, Angela went out with some friends and returned home around 1:45 a.m. She called her boyfriend, Ben McCall, saying she was scared because a strange man had asked to use her bathroom. The call ended abruptly, and when Ben couldn't reach her again, he rushed to her apartment. There, he found Angela brutally murdered. Angela's body had multiple stab wounds, and she had been assaulted. The police collected evidence, including blood samples, but technology at the time wasn't advanced enough to solve the case. Even after numerous interviews and polygraph tests with Angela's friends and acquaintances, the investigation yielded little, and the case went cold. Years passed, and in 2006, Angela's former roommate, Sheila Wysocki, became a private investigator and convinced the police to reopen the case. Sheila had always been haunted by Angela's murder and took it upon herself to ensure justice was served.
The police officers were typical police officers. It was all business. They needed to know things. We went through, her schedule, who her friends were, her boyfriend, what did I think of him, and the different people in her life.
Her persistence paid off when DNA testing on evidence collected from the crime scene identified Donald Andrew Best Jr. as the murderer. Andrew, a convicted criminal serving a life sentence for another crime, was finally linked to Angela's murder through a DNA match. In 2010, Andrew was tried and sentenced to death for Angela's murder. The trial brought a sense of closure to Angela's family and friends, especially Sheila, whose relentless pursuit of justice had finally paid off. During the trial, it was revealed that Andrew had a long history of violent crimes, including assault and kidnapping, making him a dangerous predator who had evaded justice for far too long. But it's not as horrifying as the case of Sharon Marshall. Sharon Marshall's life was a series of shocking twists that revealed a dark and sinister truth about her past. Known as an intelligent and kind young woman, Sharon's life took a tragic turn that uncovered a horrifying secret. Sharon Marshall, who was actually born Suzanne Marie Savakis, was raised by Franklin Delano Floyd, a man with a violent criminal history. Franklin kidnapped Suzanne when she was a child, raised her as his daughter, and later forced her into a twisted and abusive relationship. Sharon's promising future was shattered when she died under suspicious circumstances in 1990. Her death was ruled a homicide, but Floyd was never charged. The full extent of Floyd's crimes came to light when he was arrested for kidnapping another child, Michael Hughes, whom he falsely claimed was his son. DNA tests proved otherwise, and Floyd eventually confessed to Michael's murder. The investigation into Sharon's life revealed her true identity and the horrors she endured at Floyd's hands. Floyd remains on death row for his crimes. Next is the case of Gregory Villemin. The murder of 4-year-old Gregory Villemin in 1984 shocked France and remains one of the country's most infamous unsolved cases, known as l'affaire de Gregory. Gregory was abducted from his home in Lepange-sur-Vologne and found dead in the Vologne River, bound and drowned. The Villemin family had been receiving threatening letters and calls from an anonymous individual known as Le Corbeau, or the Crow. Suspicion initially fell on Gregory's cousin, Bernard Laroche, but he was released due to lack of evidence. The case took another twist when Gregory's mother, Christine, was accused but later acquitted. In 2017, new forensic techniques and DNA testing led to the arrest of several family members, but no definitive answers have been found. The case continues to haunt the French public, and the search for Gregory's killer remains ongoing. Next is the disappearance of 13-year-old Nicholas Barkley from San Antonio, Texas, in 1994 is one of the most bizarre cases you'll ever hear.
It was home for 13-year-old Nicholas Barkley until the afternoon of June 13, 1994, when Nicholas inexplicably disappeared.
Nicholas went missing after playing basketball with his friends. He had a troubled past and was known to run away from home, so initially, his family thought he might have just taken off. But as days turned into months, the hope of finding him began to fade. Then, in October 1997, the family received a call from the Spanish police. Nicholas had been found in Linares, Spain, claiming to have escaped from a child trafficking ring. When his sister flew to Spain, she identified him despite his changed appearance. His blonde hair was now dark, and his blue eyes had turned brown. Nicholas explained that his captors had altered his appearance to avoid detection. Even with the oddities, the family welcomed him back home. However, suspicions arose when a private investigator noticed inconsistencies in Nicholas's story and appearance. A DNA test confirmed the shocking truth. The man who had returned was not Nicholas Barkley, but a 23-year-old French con artist named Frédéric Bourdin, known as the Chameleon. He was their long-lost son. Bourdin was arrested and later admitted his deception. The case raised troubling questions about the family's willingness to accept an imposter, possibly hinting at darker secrets. To this day, Nicholas Barkley's true fate remains unknown, and the mystery of his disappearance continues to haunt his family and investigators. Our next case involves a seemingly perfect couple with a dark and deadly secret. Robert Birnbaum, a successful surgeon, and Gail Katz, an aspiring psychologist, appeared to have an idyllic life in New York City. But behind closed doors, their relationship was anything but perfect. Gail Katz disappeared on July 7, 1985, after a heated argument with Robert.
I call my mother, and my mother says, "Do you know where Gail is?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Bob called. They had a fight this morning, and Gail never came home."
He claimed she had left their apartment to cool off and never returned. Gail's family immediately suspected Robert, but without a body and little evidence, the case went cold.
I knew it right away.
And if she's not alive, there's only one person who is a likely suspect to murder her, and it's Bob. There's no other suspect.
In 1989, a torso washed ashore in Staten Island, but DNA testing was not advanced enough to confirm if it was Gail. Years later, investigators revisited the case and discovered that Robert had rented a plane on the day Gail disappeared. They theorized that he had killed her, dismembered her body, and dumped it from the plane over the Atlantic Ocean. In the year 2000, Robert was finally charged with Gail's murder. During the trial, the prosecution recreated the scenario of him disposing of the body mid-flight, and the jury was convinced of his guilt. Robert Birnbaum was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. In 2020, he confessed to killing Gail during a parole hearing, providing some closure to her family after decades of uncertainty. Gail's legacy lives on through a non-profit organization founded in her name to support victims of domestic violence. Before we continue on, if you are enjoying the story so far, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, now back to the stories. Then we have the disappearance of Maura Murray.
On the evening of February 9th, 2004, almost 18 years ago, Maura Murray crashed her car on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, never to be seen again.
Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, vanished under mysterious circumstances in 2004. Her case is filled with perplexing twists and unanswered questions. On February 9, 2004, Maura emailed her professors and work supervisor, stating that she had to leave due to a family emergency. However, there was no such emergency. She then packed her car, withdrew $280 from an ATM, bought some alcohol, and set off on a journey heading north. That evening, her car crashed into a snowbank on a rural road in Haverhill, New Hampshire. A passing motorist stopped to offer help, but Maura declined, saying she had already called for roadside assistance. But when police arrived at the scene minutes later, Maura was nowhere to be found. Her car was locked and her belongings, including her wallet and a box of wine, were still inside. There were no footprints in the snow leading away from the car, adding to the mystery. The investigation into Maura's disappearance revealed several strange details. Her dorm room had been packed up, as if she intended to leave for an extended period. A search of her computer showed she had been looking up directions to Burlington, Vermont, and accommodations in New Hampshire. Despite extensive searches of the area, no trace of Maura has ever been found. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged, ranging from foul play to voluntary disappearance. Some believe Maura may have been picked up by a passing vehicle and met with foul play, while others think she might have chosen to disappear and start a new life. In 2019, the case received renewed attention when bone fragments were found near the crash site. However, they were later determined not to be Maura's. Her family continues to search for answers, holding on to hope that new evidence will eventually solve the mystery of her disappearance. Next, we have the case of Addie Hall and Zach Bowen. This is a tragic tale of love turned deadly in the French Quarter of New Orleans.
She loved Zach, but he was very jealous. He told her, if I can't have you, nobody else will.
He had to be insane.
Addie Hall and Zach Bowen were a couple known for their resilience during Hurricane Katrina, but their story took a dark turn in 2006. On October 17, 2006, Zach Bowen was found dead after jumping from the roof of the Omni Royal Hotel. In his pocket was a note leading police to his apartment, where they discovered the dismembered body of Addie Hall. Zach had hurt Addie, then got rid of her remains before taking his own life. The couple had met in 2005 and became inseparable during the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. They were known for their bohemian lifestyle, but their relationship was tumultuous, marked by drug and alcohol abuse. Zach, a former Army soldier with PTSD, struggled with mental health issues, which may have contributed to the horrific crime. The chilling discovery of Addie's remains and Zach's subsequent suicide shocked the community and showed the tragic consequences of untreated mental illness and domestic violence. If you thought the cases so far were unsettling, wait until you hear about the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada, who disappeared while staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, California, in January 2013. This case has perplexed both investigators and the public due to its bizarre and unsettling details. Elisa was traveling alone and had been staying at the notorious Cecil Hotel, known for its dark history and connections to various crimes and suicides. On January 31, 2013, she was last seen in the hotel. When her family didn't hear from her, they reported her missing to the LAPD. The police conducted an extensive search of the hotel and surrounding areas but found no trace of her. The case took a disturbing turn on February 19, 2013, when guests at the Cecil Hotel complained about low water pressure and an unusual taste in the water. Maintenance workers went up to the roof to inspect the hotel's water tanks and made a horrifying discovery. Elisa Lam's body was found floating in one of the tanks. Her clothes and personal belongings were found at the bottom of the tank. An autopsy was conducted, but the cause of death was listed as accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a significant condition. But this conclusion did little to quell the public's fascination with the case, especially after the release of the infamous elevator footage. The elevator footage, recorded on January 31st, shows Elisa Lam acting strangely. She is seen pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and appearing to hide or talk to someone out of view of the camera. Her erratic behavior led to numerous theories, ranging from a psychotic episode to paranormal activity and even foul play. Internet sleuths and true crime enthusiasts have dissected every aspect of the footage and the circumstances surrounding her death. Some pointed to the Cecil Hotel's dark history, suggesting that it might have played a role in her death. Others noted that access to the roof and the water tanks was restricted, raising questions about how Elisa could have ended up there. Despite extensive investigations, no concrete evidence has emerged to explain the strange circumstances of Elisa Lam's death. The case remains one of the most perplexing and unsettling mysteries in recent history, leaving many to wonder what really happened to Elisa Lam in the Cecil Hotel. Next, we have the unsolved murder of Betsy Aardsma. This case takes us all the way back to 1969, to the serene campus of Penn State University, where the brutal and still unsolved murder of Betsy Aardsma shocked the nation.
Just doing her research in the dark and dimly lit stacks of the Penn State Petit Library. It was November 28, 1969.
Betsy Aardsma was a 22-year-old graduate student who was attacked in the library's stacks on November 28, 1969. Betsy was a promising student, known for her intelligence and kindness. She was in the library that day working on a paper when, at approximately 4:45 p.m., she was stabbed once in the chest with a single-edged knife.
Betsy was doing what she was supposed to be doing, in a place where she expected privacy, where she expected safety. Where else should you be safer than in the library on the campus of the college where you live? And here, the worst possible thing happened to her.
The attack was so swift and precise that it caused minimal bleeding, and she collapsed to the floor almost immediately. Other students and library staff initially thought she had suffered a seizure or fainted. It wasn't until she was taken to the Ritenour Health Center that the true nature of her injury was discovered. Despite attempts to revive her, Betsy was pronounced dead at 5:19 p.m. The investigation into Betsy's murder faced several challenges. There were no witnesses to the actual attack, and the murder weapon was never found. The library was crowded at the time, but no one reported seeing anything suspicious. The crime scene was inadvertently contaminated as students and staff tried to assist Betsy, making forensic analysis difficult. Investigators interviewed hundreds of people and followed numerous leads, but no one was ever charged with Betsy's murder. Various theories have emerged over the years, including the possibility that Betsy was killed by someone she knew, or that the murder was a random act of violence. Some suspect that the killer might have been a fellow student, or someone who had been stalking her. The case remains open, and Betsy's family and friends continue to hope for answers. Advances in forensic technology have led to renewed interest in the case, but so far, no new evidence has surfaced that could definitively identify her killer. The murder of Betsy Aardsma is a haunting reminder of how quickly and inexplicably a promising young life can be cut short. It's a case that continues to intrigue and baffle investigators, and it stands as one of the most perplexing unsolved murders in American history. In our last entry of this video, we have the mysterious death of Rebecca Zahow. This case is as confounding as it is tragic, and the bizarre circumstances surrounding her death have led to a whirlwind of speculation and theories.
Did you kill
And I've been in touch. Hell fucking no.
Rebecca Zahow was found dead on July 13, 2011, at the historic Spreckles Mansion in Coronado, California. The 32-year-old was the girlfriend of Jonah Shackney, a wealthy pharmaceutical executive. Just 2 days before her death, Jonah's 6-year-old son, Max, had a severe accident at the mansion, which left him in critical condition. On the morning of July 13th, Rebecca's nude body was discovered hanging from a balcony, her hands and feet bound, and a gag in her mouth. The scene was immediately suspicious, and the San Diego Sheriff's Department launched a comprehensive investigation. The initial autopsy ruled Rebecca's death a suicide, but this conclusion has been hotly contested by her family and many in the public. Several factors have fueled the controversy. First, the bindings on Rebecca's hands and feet seemed highly unusual for a suicide. It would be extraordinarily difficult for someone to bind themselves in such a manner. Also, a cryptic message was found painted on the door to the room leading to the balcony where she was found. The message read, "She saved him. Can you save her?" This eerie note has been a focal point of much debate and speculation. During the investigation, Jonah's brother, Adam Shackney, who was staying at the guest house on the property, was the one who discovered Rebecca's body and called 911. Adam claimed to have found Rebecca hanging and attempted to cut her down in an effort to revive her, but his efforts were unsuccessful. The official stance by law enforcement was that Rebecca, distraught over Max's accident, took her own life in a dramatic and highly unusual manner. However, Rebecca's family vehemently disagreed with this conclusion. They believed that Rebecca was murdered and that the crime scene was staged to appear as a suicide. In 2013, they filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Adam Shackney. In 2018, the case took another dramatic turn when a civil jury found Adam Shackney responsible for Rebecca Zahow's death and awarded her family over $5 million in damages. Despite this verdict, the case remains shrouded in mystery, as no criminal charges have been filed against Adam or anyone else in connection to Rebecca's death. The Zahow family continues to seek justice and has called for the case to be reopened and investigated as a homicide. The mysterious and controversial nature of Rebecca Zahow's death ensures that it remains one of the most perplexing cases in recent history, leaving many questions unanswered and continuing to captivate true crime enthusiasts around the world. And there you have it, some of the most terrifying cases with twists that you wouldn't believe if they weren't true. From long unsolved mysteries that were finally cracked, to bizarre and tragic tales that took unexpected turns, these stories remind us that truth is often stranger than fiction. Each case we've explored today shows the complexities and surprises that can arise in the world of true crime. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then check out these videos on the screen now. If you have a topic suggestion, please send it to the email in the description, and as always, remember to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to our channel. I will see you in the next one.